Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Thank you so much to all of you who took time off your Sunday evenings to join us today. We are really excited to have you here. I'm Dvarnit Schwartz, a real estate attorney here in Israel. Next to me is Noam Bassel, one of the top real estate brokers in Israel, a huge brokerage team that has representatives throughout the country, and so really can help you with any location you're looking for. And we have Yoni Hyman, who is extremely well versed with mortgages, with people taking mortgages from abroad, and has a slew of solutions for any issues that may arise. And so I'm really excited about this opportunity today. I will be starting the presentations. Noam will be following me, and then after that, Yoni will give his presentation. And the focus of our webinar will not be our presentations, it will be your questions that have been sent in beforehand, and that way we can answer things that are on your minds while going through the process of purchasing real estate here in Israel. Really looking forward. This is going to be a lot of fun, so let's get going.
Shavua Tov and Chodesh Tov to everybody.
Okay, so Israeli real estate is a little different than anything over there in Australia. The first thing, which I like opening with both when I speak to clients, but also in my presentations, the first thing that you need to take into account is actually your budget, right? And I'm not talking about only the number, the price tag on the apartment. I'm talking about the whole console of things that come with purchasing an apartment, whether it's realtor fees, purchase tax, lawyer fees, engineer reports, and appraisers to make sure that we're not buying a lemon, we're actually buying a good property, registration costs, mortgage insurance, and renovation costs if relevant, and of course the moving costs when you finally get the key and you can make this your home. So, unlike other countries, the way it works in Israel is once you sign, it's binding. And why is that really important to know from the get-go? Because if you sign a contract, there's no cooling off period afterwards. What we have then is a binding contract that you will be forced to abide whether you have second thoughts or not. And that's why it's extremely important to prepare and understand everything before we sign a contract. It's also really important to remember that, as I said, any paper that you sign can be legally binding. And what do I mean by that? I had a client come over to me. They're very excited buying a house, selling a house, and they show me a piece of paper that they signed, which had all the legal points that were needed in order for a contract to be binding. And then when it came to the actual negotiation, my hands were tied behind my back. There were a lot of things that needed to be changed, and I couldn't change them without the agreement of the seller. Let's not get to that situation, right? It's really important to decide the closing dates, arrange the payment schedule, finalize the handover date, and also take into account unexpected delays. But all that needs to be with the lawyers involved, so that way we see the full picture and we can negotiate everything accordingly. I am there from the get-go, every step of the way to make sure that everything can mesh together and really fit in like a puzzle. But if I come in and I already have some binding points, then it's a lot harder for me to play around with things and make sure that you get the best deal that you can get. The importance of due diligence. There could be unexpected surprises. Okay. Israel does not have title insurance, which means that all the due diligence and all the title checks and all the lien and inspections, everything needs to be done prior to signing. And so simultaneously, while we negotiate your contract, simultaneously, we also do due diligence both of the actual structural situation of the property with a engineer and also an appraisal to verify that the property, that both the value is correct and all the zoning is correct, and that everything really fits what we have on paper as well. Once we do all the legal and property checks, we're finally up to signing the contract. So we're finally up to the purchasing agreement. Once we have a closing date and the payment schedule and everything's agreed on and we know exactly what you're buying, I review with you the contract. It's important to know, even if I sign your contract with a power of attorney, at the end of the day, it is your signature, not mine. So it's extremely important for me that you understand exactly what you're signing, when you're signing, and what you are committing to. So I schedule a Zoom with you and we review the contract together. You know, once the agreement is signed, again, it's really important to remember it is binding to both parties for good and for bad. So it's really important that you know exactly what you're getting into. I had a bunch of clients who called me after a different lawyer represented them and they didn't realize what they were committing to. And they called me and asked, what can we do to change it? And I looked at it and I said, honestly, not much, sadly, because the contract is already signed. It's really important to know what you're signing before, and so please review it and read it before giving permission to sign. Once the contract is signed, then the payments start shifting in. It's usually about 4 to 6 months of a contract period where we have a few steps in the payment as the contract progresses. And as we pay, the first step is to make sure that you have a note on the deed so that we know that no one can sell the apartment from under you. And then there are different registrars and there's a different process. So it's very important to make sure that your lawyer knows the process of the specific registrar that is in charge of the specific location, whether it's Judea, Samaria, inside the Green Line, or whether it's a new build, even if it's completely built already, there is a transferring of title process from the contractor to the owners. So it all needs to be checked in our due diligence step. But now, as we progress, there are different steps and processes that we need to go through in order to complete the registration after we get the keys. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that this gave you a little more of a structure about the process and what to expect on the legal end of things. I will now give the microphone to Noam to explain to you how to locate an apartment. And if you have any questions, please, as we asked, put any questions and answers you have into the Q&A box so that we can answer it later.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. We just came back from Australia a few months ago, and then there was a few incidences that happened in this region. But when we came back, we found a lot of people really interested in the process in Australia, and therefore we decided to have this event, this Zoom event, because we saw there was a need and there was a real interest about making it happen. And now we're here to discuss how to do this for those that we did not meet or we might have met. So investing or buying in Israel is something we've been helping people do from overseas since about 2007. Our company has been doing this since I looked like this. I've put on a little bit of weight since, but now we're still helping hard and making sure a lot of people make the decision of how to do this and not get traumatized in the process of actually making it happen. So what we do is we've been helping people facilitate buying as a group in projects around Israel, or helping people facilitate their financing, knowing what to bring in. We have here an expert who the next stage, once you have just the little box of what you fit into with the budget, we finalize not the contract, but the guidelines for the contract. We hand it over to Dvoranit to get it all into ship shape, as they say, and bring it back to Yoni Heiman to make sure that the structure of the payment plan works to your best advantage and bring you forward to how to make that, to facilitate it actually. Okay, so our goal is to help you do this with the smoothness as it should be in every region, but just as a representative, as an Australian as well, I know what this what this accounts for to make sure things are simple. Why Israel? Obviously, things around the world are not simple, but having an insurance policy in your own country is something a lot of people do, and a lot of people have been referring to this process as a plan B and something just obviously, Chagim is a very big facilitating factor for people to come and buy in Israel, something to have overseas when the kids come on Aliyah or when you come on Aliyah, Bezrat Hashem. And we really bring out the best opportunities for each buyer specifically. We send and we pinpoint the communities that fit best the type of person coming in to buy, where he's looking to live, who he knows maybe in other communities around Israel, that we can sort of shift him into those communities and find the best schools, solutions. We've been in touch with the municipalities in certain cities to try facilitating a good background nest for the people coming in so they can have the good education with the English factors or the knowledge of Hebrew, and that being an easier land into Israel, of course, and also helping people just recently come over from Australia and find also work. This is not our main factor, but this is what we do for each other. So there's a lot of the reasons of buying in Israel, as you see here. It's really basic when you have Australia, and there's so much land to go into, even though the desert's in the middle and nobody really wants to live in the hot desert. Here, the desert is a factor where people live in Beersheba, Eilat, and the middle is some of the most sought after communities. Now, just recently, there was a place down south that was considered one of the top most sought after communities to visit, like as a national thing. We'll send you the link to this place if you'd like. But the desert here is a big factor that people do consider as livable, and the space around Israel is beautiful. You have the snow up north and the nice vacation center down south in Eilat, tax-free, VAT-free, more right. And there's a lot of reasons why this is a good location for you to settle in if you choose so, or to obviously vacation in. So we have a stable real estate market, which has been proven since the late 90s to suit as a strong place for Jews to find either a plan B to make Aliyah, or just to have as a asset for the future, diversification of your assets. So there is obviously the opportunity for both an investment and future lifestyle planning. Okay, so that's our goal, to make sure that what you buy is something that fits your needs. So we go through, if you'd like afterwards, each person will sit down and we can dissect. There's a lot of you, but we can dissect exactly what the needs are for each person, and we'll be happy to sit down on a call like this. And if we have here someone in our a few people in our company that have made Aliyah and know the daunting per se thought at the beginning, and they can give you a little bit of a heads up of what it encountered in the end when they actually made Aliyah, and what they feel here coming from very nice communities in the States and France and all kinds of locations around the world where Jews feel very much at home, but then moving here and finding it also as comfortable and as a home feeling. So there are a few types of families, types of buyers buying today in the market. We have obviously the investors, people looking for a project that is going to demolition reconstruction, Tama 38, if you've heard that name, and they're looking to have something, and meanwhile it covering the mortgage expenses. This is where Yoni can be a perfect fit, making sure the payments align with what the rental income is from this type of property. And then, over time, the rent starts covering and coming also into pocket, getting change, and then covering completely, and you owning a asset free of any loans in Israel. When a later stage, when you want to make Aliyah, it's already something that's waiting for you, no fees at all, except for obviously the ongoing fees of the Arnona, which is municipality taxes, and so on. families planning Aliyah. We have, Baruch Hashem, many, many people, even during the war and during even the bombardments, getting off the plane and feeling at home. And this is the Jewish home, Baruch Hashem. We've done everything. I think me and Yoni Hyman have both been doing miluim, and Voronit's husband also making sure that the place here is ready for whoever comes, and they feel at home and they feel ready, and this is our homeland. We're doing everything to make sure it stays, and Baruch Hashem, we're doing a good job. Parents buying for children. We have now from the States, the Chalabi or Syrian community just bought 200 units in Jerusalem, another 100 units in Tel Aviv area, and it's becoming the Persian community up north. Baruch Hashem, it's finding the location, the right type of project that fits the criteria set by the people looking to buy. And those things also end up being or investment or for the family planning to make Aliyah later down the line, but for now can serve as a good location for the kids to live till. Now we have also the lifestyle buyers. We have good communities around Israel that are on the sea, beautiful locations such as, Sydney and Melbourne. We have our own coastal cities that are very, very sought after. Our Tel Aviv is listed upon, Sydney and Melbourne being one of the most expensive cities around the world, and Tel Aviv being right up in that list with them, with New York and other big cities on that list. But Baruch Hashem, this is just shows a little bit about the people coming to this location and buying here. It's something that has a very big demand. There are two criteria when buying in Israel. There is a new development where you buy from a developer, where a lot of times people get confused why they have to pay a lawyer for the from the developer to also do the contract with the developer and to hire an attorney. Now, this is something very, very substantial. This is something you need to hire a lawyer, because the lawyer from the company, he does take the same percentage, but it's very, very important that you have your lawyer who's professional, who's looking out at your interests, to also go over the contract and make sure that you're getting the good representation and make sure that you're covered from all ends. That lawyer does usually the registration and the title, and what Dvornik was saying earlier on with the new developers. This is something that can't be bypassed with the developers. So that's the new developments. There's obviously, as we're progressing with time, the amenities become more and more modern, greener building, brand new construction is more. The newer construction now takes a lot of the things that happened during the war and puts it into new zonings in the new buildings. So everything's becoming more updated. Israel is not a place where you sleep. You listen to the crowd that's buying, and you make sure that you have that, you're attuned to what the needs of the customers are. So there's also, if you buy early enough in the projects, there's also a strong appreciation potential. This is something that we can go into depth with regards to whatever location you're looking at. And when we go into resale properties, there's a lot of people who say, I want to see something now that I can live in. My daughter or friend or brother or sister, family member is in Israel, and they can see it on my behalf. I'd like to have something that's immediately available that I can move into whenever I want, and that's also very fine. And we do a lot of these deals. In COVID, we've done these deals over Zoom with clients, just showing them around the room, and they've purchased and facilitated transactions like that. Obviously, the lawyer and mortgage broker were big parts in these transactions. And we can also find like Rehavia or certain neighborhoods in Ra'anana and Tel Aviv that are not so prone to a lot of building, where you want to find a building that is currently built next to your friends, next to family, next to people you know, and you can find that an easier landing rather than sometimes opening up a new area, even though we have facilitated bigger groups to come in together and buy and feel more comfortable with having a group of friends buy together. So obviously, it's also easier to evaluate the final product, and negotiability is a lot easier in a new property than in a resale property than a new properties. Now, people asked us where are the good locations where people are buying today as Anglos, also Australians, obviously. And we do have the Jerusalem area, which is very strong. It's a strong market. When the country was kind of on a slope of going up, Jerusalem was on that slope and the prices were increasing. When the prices sort of plateaued in the countries, Jerusalem was still on a small incline upwards, and also Tel Aviv. And the other areas here, Efrat, Gush Etzion is also very popular. Beit Shemesh and Ra'anana, very, very successful Anglo communities. And Netanya and Tel Aviv, the coastal cities in the group in the list here, are very, very popular. We also have Haifa, obviously, and Hadera, and we have a few other places, Ashkelon, which are very big with international communities right now that are also worth noting. But that will be able to go into depth with the person who wants to investigate and see what he can afford slash where he wants to live and what type of community he sees himself as a part of. Common mistakes foreign buyers make avoiding expensive mistakes. This is something that is definitely the right time to have a real estate agent to start with. And sometimes when clients come right at the get-go and they say, this is what I think I'm going to spend, and we have a certain criteria of what we're looking to spend, where we're looking to buy, and sometimes I refer them. First of all, talk to the mortgage broker. I want you to get a guideline. Sometimes the mortgage brokers can get very interesting kind of angles that are not so common. And with the right mortgage broker, you can get a bigger financing rate, better rates, better spread. Certain things can be leveraged to make the payments for the mortgage payments. And all this is something that down the line, if you agree and say, oh, I don't need a mortgage broker, I could do this alone. And for what the mortgage broker or the real estate attorney or the real estate agent can provide to you is a lot of times things that could be very costly down the line. This is not to say that nobody can't, but there are a lot of benefits to that process being done with the right professionals at your side. So the neighborhoods, the purchase costs, relying on online listings. A lot of people, the mediator between the buyer and the seller can be something that also financial, also legal, and also representation can be the reason how the deal can go wrong, or obviously it can go right, but there's so many factors that we help you avoid by being there and holding your hand and making sure the intricacies are explained to you and made more simple down the line. Okay, so there's also that our role is meant to come in and make sure that everything is done properly. The buying process. So in Israel, you come in, you talk to us, you say, hey, listen, we'd like to find a place. This is our criterias. We help you find the neighborhood. We help you understand the budget timeline, and then we start looking for you for places. We find a place for you, and we see it, and there's no money changed over between parties before a contract is signed. So once we have the money decided, if we need obviously more intricate explanations of what our finances can be, that's where Yoni would come in. He would help you understand what your limitations are and what your counter could be to a transaction. We have now 3 clients right now with Yoni who are in negotiation right now, and they're going back and forth, all 3 of us with Yoni as well, and Veronik happens to be in 2 of those, discussing what is the right offer, how to do this properly, and where the next stage should be. So there's a very big line of Yoni coming in at this point with that. And then once you decide everything, the legal comes into effect. And then everything is done with the lawyer. The lawyer sometimes does have some bumps in the way, where obviously an agent or a mortgage broker could help mediate the things because the a lawyer who fights for you is only looking out at your interest. But sometimes, obviously, the intricacies of these types of things are with the mortgage broker saying we could do that payment on that day, and then through the seller with an agent or the mortgage broker that could be sort of mitigated and sort of smooth sailing. Okay, so the contract and the payments are all done by Dvoranit. She will speak to the mortgage broker to know how to facilitate that into the contract, but she'll make sure that there's no money left over that's not covered by her due diligence checks that she does for the clients. Now, the closing and ongoing support. Obviously, this is something where we can help you as well with the move-in, rentals, management, and the rest. So if you'd like to also hear about what we do for our clients for management, you're welcome to speak to us afterwards. So what we do is, as I just explained, but this is really a straight list of the things I just mentioned. So I'll go to the next slide here. So the the markets are very interesting. The locations, the apartments. You'll find people posting properties. I have agents listing properties that are lower than the market value sometimes because they're off market. People are aware of the prices on the market. We also have a lot of people asking for above market value and they know that they're above market and they're looking for what's called in Hebrew a friar. So unless we have someone that wants to live in a very specific area, knows that he's going into a transaction that he's buying over market, but he wants that building specifically because A through B or A through Z, whatever the circumstances may be, then we present that property. But we have a lot of people looking for international clients as the people who might have money to pay more than an Israeli buyer. Usually we make sure the buyers are attuned to the market, what the actual price is, and then our buyers make the decision. But usually, uh, bli ayin hara, as they say, we have clients who buy good prices around the country in new and resale properties. And now is actually a very, very good time because it is a buyer's market at the moment, and we are able to facilitate very good options for people who do have the ability to move now on a transaction, also from developers and also from resale properties. So if that's the case and you are ready to move, you should know that there are very, very good options at the moment in the market. So now, if you are looking to buy and ready to do such a move, definitely be in touch with us because there are very, very good options on the market right now as a buyer's market. Not to say that it will stay for a long time. I don't know the period of how long this will take, but be ready to move and we'll look forward to seeing you on the other side of the ocean. Thank you for joining us, and we have now Yoni. Yoni?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Noam. That was very interesting, very informative.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I think you're ready to go one over. Perfect. Okay, so well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I was Noam in Australia about, I think it was 2 or 3 months, if I'm not mistaken. It was unbelievable. We had a ridiculous amount of demand. We had about 300 to 400 people come to our events, which is amazing to watch, amazing to see, and hopefully, um, you know, slowly but surely, people are buying in Israel, and yeah, it's definitely the right move to do. As Noam says, the buyer's market's a fantastic opportunity to buy right now, and there are deals to be found. Okay, there are deals to be found, and it really is the best time to buy right now in terms of the market. So Noam, please skip to the next stage. Next slide. Okay, so my job as a mortgage broker is to really help throughout the whole financing process, from the pre-approval through the negotiation, the bureaucracy, and the whole mortgage process. When you take out a mortgage in Israel, there's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of back and forth with the banks. My job is to really take care of that whole thing, facilitate the whole process for my clients, working with the broker and with the lawyer. We negotiate the mortgage terms. We take care of all the bureaucracy and the documentation required for the mortgage and make sure the whole thing is funded correctly, either in installments or in one payment, depending on the deal. And we really hold our clients accountable throughout the whole process, and really try to minimize them dealing with it and take care of the whole process from A to Z on their behalf. That's a service I provide with the help of the lawyer and the realtor. Please continue. Okay, so when taking out a mortgage, there are difference if you buy something called a resale or a secondhand property and buying on paper. Buying on paper, the payment schedule is a bit more flexible, especially today. As Noam said, it is a buyer's market, which means you're able to negotiate a very, very convenient and flexible payment schedule. It could be a 10-90 or 20-80 deal, which means you put down 10 or 20% upon signing, the rest only upon possession, which cash flow wise is very convenient. You don't have to liquidate a lot of your Australian dollars right now, which is also very beneficial. And we are able to negotiate very, very good deals. Buying a second hand is a bit different, which means it's a much quicker deal. There's a payment schedule negotiated between the lawyers, and we have to maintain that payment schedule, and we have to make sure the mortgage is done based on the payment schedule. Usually it takes 3 to 4 months from signing to we actually get possession. That's usually a realistic timeline. And in that time, we have to make sure the mortgage is transferred. That means that you have to put more money up front, but there are, like I said, deals to be negotiated, and there's a lot of very, very motivated, I think motivated is the best word to put it, motivated sellers right now, that if you give them a good, realistic offer, they will sell. They need to sell because they're looking to upgrade, they're looking to sell for tax reasons and so on. And you, as potential buyers, the ball's in you guys have the stronger hand, and you guys could negotiate as we see on a daily basis. We're able to negotiate fantastic, fantastic opportunities right now. Regarding the bank documentation, so even with your foreign income, which means your income from Australia, your tax returns, credit reports, and so on, we are able to approve a mortgage in Israel. So you don't need to have Israeli income. We could base everything off your foreign income. We open an account on your behalf and take care of the whole process. Vorney and myself did this many, many times before, which we open an account for the clients. We help them transfer the funds. And based on your foreign documentation, we could get everything approved in Israel. So, like I said, no need to have any Israeli income. Everything could be done via your foreign income. I will need your last years of tax returns. I will need your passport and driver's license, your bank statements, and your credit report and credit score. Based on those documents alone, we could get you pre-approved, negotiate, and lock in a mortgage for you here in Israel. Um, there are a lot of changes in the market, which means that banks are very eager to sell mortgages or to offer mortgages to foreign clients with the hope of them to make Aliyah and so on. One of the biggest and coolest moves right now, me and Vern actually spoke about this a few days ago, is that until a few weeks ago, foreigners, which means foreigners who do not have an Israeli citizenship, could get up to 50%. That was right till a few weeks ago. Now, if a foreigner declares that he's expected to make Aliyah within 12 months, okay, again, based on declaration, we could get up to 75% financing based on that declaration. Okay, so you don't need an Israeli 2.0, you don't have to be a citizen. All you have to do is sign a one pager that basically declares you're intending, you don't need to make Aliyah, you intend to make Aliyah within the next 12 months. With that declaration, get you 75%. It's a fantastic, it's a game changer in the market, which means that a lot of clients that needed the higher financing, this is a fantastic way to get that higher financing. We get, residential rates, it's a very good rate. And clients are thinking or in the process of making Aliyah, it does give them that additional financing, and therefore they have to liquidate less dollars. It's a little more affordable. It's a very good option. And a lot of clients that were stuck in the conversion, whatever it is, are buying now because they're able to get the higher financing. It's a very, you know, good thing the banks are offering to really, kind of opens the market for clients that need that additional financing. So regarding equity needed, so like I said, until a few weeks ago, it was 50% for foreigners. That just changed to 25%, assuming you're willing to sign a declaration you expect to make Aliyah or intending to make Aliyah. And that's, like I said, that's a very big game changer in the market. Okay, so like I said, a lot of clients that were hesitant and sitting in a fence because they didn't want to liquidate their dollars. With the mortgage rates available in Israel, which I'll talk in a second, they're able to get maximum financing just like an Israeli, and therefore put down less money as a down payment. Regarding the mortgage options, so in Israel, there's a lot of different options. My job as a mortgage broker to really understand your financial needs. If you're looking to a more variable or a more fixed, you're looking to prepay or refinance a mortgage, what's your expectation in terms of mortgage? And structure the best mortgage for you in order to make sure you get the best rates, the best terms, and obviously the best mortgage structure allows you the most flexibility in the near and far future. The rates in market vary all the time. So the rates in market right now are relatively good. The banks are extremely, in Hebrew, it's called revim, hungry to sell mortgages, and it allows us to negotiate very, very good terms and very good rates. The rates in market right now on a 30-year loan, which is the maximum length for anyone taking a mortgage, is give or take around 4.5% on a non-linked mortgage. That's today's rate. I'm going to say, that's right from May of 2026. If any hears this in 3 months, so it's right from May of 2026. It's around 4.5%. If you take a shorter mortgage, let's say a 10, 15, 20-year loan, obviously the rates are a little bit cheaper. But yes, the rates are extremely, extremely competitive and very, very cheap today. And everything's negotiable, which means we're able to negotiate very good rates. There are different ways to structure the mortgage, if it's a variable, fixed, and so on. So it kind of gives us the flexibility to do whatever we need to do in order to make sure you have the best mortgage for you. And the market is changing. As time goes by, as the war, God willing, is ending, so the rates are going down. So we do see a decrease of rates right now. So, depending what's going to be in the near future, but the rates are currently going down with the change of the dollar and so on. And by taking a mortgage, we are locking in the rates and kind of guaranteeing yourself a very cheap, steady mortgage for the long term. A few more things regarding the length of the mortgage. So the maximum length is 30 years, but you can only take it till you turn 85, which means if anybody in the audience is, let's say, for instance, 60 or 65 years old, the mortgage has to be, it has to end by the time you're 85. So it has to be amortized for the length of till you turn 85 years old. That's the maximum length. Yeah, that's about that. Regarding life insurance in Israel, they do require to do life insurance for the mortgage, which is very different than foreigner than mortgages in Australia and the States. If you guys have existing life insurance in Australia, or you guys have assets in a high net worth, you guys are high net worth individuals, with that we could usually get a waiver for life insurance. So again, something that is negotiated with the mortgage. That's about that. Now, one more thing that's very important, and I actually just spoke to Vornit about this a few days ago. We speak about these stuff back and forth all the time, is because the banks understand that people don't want to liquidate dollars right now. There are options to lock in money in something called a dollar bond in an Israeli bank, which means we open a bank for you in Israel. We could lock in, two, three, five, 700, whatever it is, $1,000 in an Israeli bond, get a return in dollars on that bond, leave the money liquid in dollars, and take a loan in shekels in order to fund the additional fees. So, for instance, if you're looking to buy a property via known for, I'm throwing a number, for 4 million shekels, put down 25% of a million shekels, I could put my dollars in an Israeli bank, take something called a dollar bond, which is very, very beneficial, get my percentage. Today it's around 5 to 5.5%. It varies all the time as a return, a guaranteed return from the banks. And on top of that money, take a loan in shekels and use that loan in order to put down the down payment, therefore not liquidate money now, which is very, very interesting, very beneficial for a lot of people that don't want to liquidate money right now because of shekel dollar conversion rate. So like I said, there are many interesting and good options for people that are looking to buy. Once you sit down with me and with the team here, so we can really understand your financial needs and really structure for you guys in order to make sure we get the best solution financially on your behalf and make sure we save or pay as least amount of fees possible in this whole process. Skip to, I think. Thank you very much. I'll be here for all the questions and yeah.
Okay, everybody. So we have now the questions people sent in here. we'd like to go into those so we can answer a few of these, see how many we get into this. So the first one is very interesting. Which cities do many Australians move to? This is very specific. This has to do a lot with who the buyers are and what their
What their budget is.
circumstances are. Money, budget, friends,
Community.
communities. We've had people move into North Tel Aviv, Ra'anana, Jerusalem, even Gush Etzion, Efrat. A lot we've seen a lot of Australians moving and buying, not necessarily to move right now, but setting up for future down the line opportunities. What are additional costs of buying a home? Barnett?
So as we had mentioned, and Yoni, feel free to jump in if I'm forgetting anything, but you have to take into account it's usually about 10 to 13% is what the go-to number that we recommend. In addition to your pricing, because you have the realtor fees, you have purchasing tax, which I'll get into in a minute because there was an excellent question about that. Purchasing tax, you have your, as I said, broker fee, purchasing tax, lawyer fees, the engineer and appraiser reports, the registration fees, which are usually pretty minor, up to 1,000 shekel or so. And then you have your moving and construction, if you are planning on renovating your house. So we usually recommend, as I said, to take into account into your budget about between 10 to 13%. So that I'll jump in already into the purchase tax question, which was if I'm planning on making Aliyah in January of 2027, can I be reimbursed on purchase tax that I pay now? So I'm just gonna give a little bit of an overview about the way purchase tax works in Israel. Foreigners not in Judea and Samaria have to pay 8% purchase tax for any transaction that they make. Okay? Purchase tax, 8% purchase tax. If you make Aliyah, it used to be that you would pay 0.5% on the entire value of the house, but in August of 2025, the Israeli government changed the law and allowed Olim to use basically two benefits that coincide together. And that is first house or only apartment here in Israel, only home, up to 1.9 million shekel. There is no purchasing tax. 1.9 million shekel and change, and that changes as the laws change and the debt. Anything from 1.9 million and change and up, it's only 0.5%, which can be extremely financially viable, because I had a client now who bought a house up north in the Zichron Binyamina Pardes Chana area. They bought it for about 6.5 million shekel, and their Aliyah benefit saved them over 150,000 shekel in purchase tax. Just to give you a little bit of an idea what Olim benefits can assist. And there are other locations in Israel where you don't have to pay purchase tax at all. So it really is per location. But again, if you're buying in Netanya, Ashkelon, Jerusalem, Beit Shemesh, all the major cities, assume that you're going to have to pay 8% purchase tax unless you plan on making Aliyah within a year of purchasing that home. Now, if you do make Aliyah, then what we do is we fix what we reported to the tax authorities retroactively based on your Aliyah status, and then you get your money back. It's attached to index. You get the interest rates back as well. Whatever the government charges you for late fees, except for the fines, you also get back. I can also tell you that personally, my husband made Aliyah when he was younger, and we didn't use that benefit. We weren't aware of the benefit. The lawyer that represented us when I was a student didn't really give us the full picture. And then we found out 2 months before his Aliyah benefits ran out, and I refiled taxes as a student, and we made over 25,000 shekel in interest and the what's it called? You know, what's it, madad,
Inflation.
inflation. And we made over 25,000 shekel just because of that mistake. So I ended up thanking the lawyer for making the mistake. But anyway, so that's something that we can fix or refile after you make aliyah.
Just to clarify that the 10 to 30% Vorney said, that already includes 8% purchase tax.
Yes,
It's
yes, yes.
inside of 10
10
to
plus,
30.
yes, it's not in addition, correct. Thank you for that clarification. The next question is,
Yeah.
how long does the whole process take from signed contract to the keys? Okay, so the negotiation process, it really depends on the lawyer on the other side. I've had contracts that ended within a week, and I've had contracts that have gone on for 8 to 9 months. But
I could attest to that.
yes, so Yoni can attest to both of them, actually.
Correct.
The week and the 9 months. He was a mortgage broker on both deals. Um, but once the contract is signed, generally, we can really, the whole payment schedule and getting the keys is tailored to your needs and to the seller's needs. So we can have situations where within 3 months, the buyer, or even less, the buyer gets the keys. We can have a situation where the buyer gets the keys within 6 months. We can have a situation where the seller actually wants to continue living in the house for another year or so, and it's fitting for the buyer, and then we negotiate a rental agreement, or we make the payment schedule be longer so that you're not actually financing them living there. So it really can be tailored, and we have a lot of different kinds of solutions that, as Noam had mentioned before, and Yoni, once we have a team that really works together, we can also come up with very interesting solutions to your specific issues that we are having and solve them as we progress. So it really is based on your needs, based on the seller's needs, and what those needs are. Okay, so Yoni, you answered this, but I think that it should be stressed again. I've heard that it's possible to obtain financing for more than 50%. Is that true?
So the answer is it is true. If you're an Israeli citizen, which means you have an Israeli Taudat Zehut, regardless, you're able to get up to 75%. That's regardless. But the biggest change in the market right now is once you declare that you're intending to make out within 12 months, again, you don't necessarily need to make out, you're intending to make out within 12 months. Based on that declaration, we can get up to 75% financing. So any foreigner that wants to get 75% is able to get 75% based on a one-pager declaration. And yes, like I said, it's a game changer in the market, and a lot of foreigners are using that declaration in order to get higher financing today.
Okay.
So we have a question that a few questions here, so I'd like to read off the also here. We have, what is the fee for your services, and is it paid in advance of you at the starting of process or upon settlement? The big question. So each one of us will answer separately because they can explain when they accept the payment, and then it will be very clear. Our fee, we're most of the times we're the first ones on the task, and the last ones on the task as well. Our fee is 2% plus VAT of the closing costs, and we don't get paid until a successful transaction is made. And we also obviously are there, just like the lawyer and the mortgage broker, to make sure everything is facilitated and no bumps arise also after. Ronit?
Okay, so my fee is 0.75% plus VAT. It's also paid upon signing, which means that you don't pay anything unless the transaction goes through. And that includes everything. I'm there, I had a client now who actually reached out Thursday night, another joint client, Yoni, I'll tell you afterwards. And he was having an issue with his tenants in an apartment that we represented over a year and a half ago. And he called me Thursday night and I helped him solve the issue, and it was all smoothed out. So I'm still there for my clients well after the transaction and well after the purchase is completed.
So my fee is I charge 1% plus VAT of the mortgage. So for instance, if you're buying a 4 million shekel property and look to take a 3 million shekel mortgage, so my fees based on the mortgage amount, which is 3 million shekel, for instance, my fees only due upon taking out the mortgage, which means that I only charge my fee a few months down the road. So once you guys sign a contract, there's a payment schedule negotiated. Let's say we need the mortgage 3 months from signing. That's a hypothetical assumption. So I only charge my fee after mortgage is successfully transferred. Once sellers get the money, then I charge my service fee.
There was another very good question here about insurance during war.
Yes.
So that's I'll tell you an anecdote. I had a client who was gonna sign February 28th was the last one that started.
29th. Yeah.
So that Sunday, that was Shabbat morning, Saturday morning. That Sunday we had a signing scheduled and it was in Beit Shemesh. And the client asked to postpone the signing, and sadly, there was also a rocket that hit Beit Shemesh, not that house. And afterwards, we signed the contract and everything's okay. But he said, what happens if I make this payment and then the house gets hit? How do I get covered? So first of all, the government has been unbelievably, and it's crazy because it's the government, but the government has been really on top of things. They're great at paying and helping people with their rent and renovations if God forbid there were issues. Another lawyer was telling me how his parents' house had the glass was shattered, and within 2 days they had all their glass panes back in, and it was all covered by the government. So anything that is due to war is covered by the government and handled very, very efficiently and quickly. Anything that has to do with, fire or earthquake or anything else, which is regular homeowners insurance, we make sure that the seller has, and this is another deal that Yoni and I were part of, that I made sure that the seller didn't have a mortgage, which meant he didn't have insurance, and I made sure that the clients, before they paid anything, I made sure that they had homeowners insurance that the seller paid until they get the keys, in order to ensure that their payments are covered. If God forbid there's any kind of damage between the time that they purchase the house and until the time that they withdraw their mortgage and get the keys. But usually the homeowner, the seller, has insurance until we take our mortgage and pay off their mortgage. And from that minute on, you have homeowners insurance, which covers any other issues and damages that may occur from that point on.
Do Australians who reside in Australia have to pay taxes on the rental income, etc., in Israel? And are these estate duties? Are there estate duties? So in Israel, there is municipal taxes. If you have a rental, I know that in Israel there is liability to pay taxes. If you are an Australian for the purpose of paying taxes and have not made Aliyah or do not live here more than 6 months in a day, you have to obviously speak to your CPA regarding how that's mitigated to your government to pay taxes. But in Israel, there's brackets up to 5,000 shekels and up to 10,000 shekels, and from 10,000 shekels above. Obviously, we can be more specific with the Israeli side of things and help you with that. What is the typical rental yield on a residential apartment in Israel? This is also very dependent on where, but I think Yoni can attest to having a lot of Australians or Americans. He's been in touch with a lot of overseas clients. He's actually won an award for being one of the top mortgage brokers in Israel for the Mizrahi Tefachot Bank, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in Israel at the moment.
Also, Lumi gave you an award, no?
No, but I love the question because we do this all the time. The first time I ever heard that question, it's a fantastic question. It really is. Actually a very good question. I mean, no one's going to answer better than I can, but it's a very, very good it's a very financially smart question.
So it's definitely something we try and look at the location where the person's looking to buy. And in the area like Tel Aviv, there could be the east and the west. If you want to just get a foot through the door and buy a property, then we, together with Yoni, understand how to facilitate this. in regards to the income needed to cover the expense, the mortgage payments. And then we can go into where, what, how. There are many apartments, I'm sure also in Australia, that are divided with divisions inside the apartment that create the bigger yield for the apartment. We sold, just for example, in Jerusalem, in the same building complex, in the center of the city, two apartments, both a two-bedroom apartment. One was for a regular two-bedroom apartment, yielding 5,500 shekels. The second one was split into three little rooms, beautifully renovated, and rented for around 10,000 shekels a month. So it's almost an increase of double. So there's also a question of how risky or what the person buying is willing to do to create a bigger return on that investment, to buy in a certain area that's up and coming, up north, down south. Ashkelon is now a huge thing, and the rental market is very big because there's a lot of people sitting. Like we said, it's a buyer's market, but there's a lot of people sitting on the fence right now. That creates opportunity for the people ready to buy, but the rental market is boiling. There's a lot of rental inventory that's being snatched up, and people willing to do the opportunity of buying and holding it in place for down the line. They could be in a very big advantage here.
There was another question here about which company or investment vehicle is best to use from Australia. There are a few companies that can be used in order to transfer funds. It really depends on your circumstances and what is right for you. There is one company that I prefer to work with because they're just much easier. But it really depends on your situation and how fast you need to transfer funds, or how much time we can use to negotiate and things like that. It also depends on how much you need to transfer and how much you're taking out in the mortgage. So I'd be happy to have that conversation. I offer a free consultation. We'd be happy to hash out all the specifics for your deal that you're considering so that we can tailor the right company for you as well.
Definitely. I feel a lot of times properties in Israel real estate market is just like a shidduch for the Jewish kid. It's like I have a kid who wants to get married, but I can't this, that. So we're very specific, and we feel a lot of times that it's like a shidduch, making sure that the suit fits exactly the criteria of what the people are looking for. And if done properly, it's amazing. It's not like a shidduch physically, so you can also sell a property and move on. So there's a lot of flexibility in the market that we can help with. This is a very good question actually for Yoni. Yoni, there's how do I set up a mortgage in Israel as a foreign buyer, and can I open a bank account from abroad?
So there's a power of attorney that we prepare for you that's being notarized and apostilled. With that, either myself or the lawyer could both open an account and sign the mortgage documents for you. So the answer is it is possible. We do it all the time. And with that document, you basically give us, either myself or the lawyer, the power of attorney to allow us to sign everything on your behalf, open a bank account. If need, we could become a signature on that account as well to kind of allow you guys to make everything transact a little bit smoother, because I'm at the bank I'm there all day, so everything goes a little bit quicker. And sign a mortgage, which means we sign a mortgage on your behalf. We take care of everything from A to Z. We have many, many clients that never came to Israel. We did everything from abroad. They never had to come to Israel. Everything is online. Everything is accessible. It's a very, very smooth process.
I'll just add that the entire process can be done from abroad. So from, seeing the apartment and asking your realtor to walk around and video the different rooms and explain the different issues and the different pluses and minuses there are to the property. And I have also a power of attorney, and all the paperwork that I need is signed and notarized, apostilled abroad, sent to me, and then I can sign in your name. And then Yoni as well. We kind of try to mesh all the documents together so that it's in one fee. And that way we can really do, as Yoni said, A to Z. You don't even have to be here. And everything, now that everything is digital, it's much easier. And I have clients who ask to be on Zoom as we're signing so that they can feel like they're part of the process and part of their, they're buying the house. They want to be there. So we schedule it in the evening so that they can really be, or in Australia, it's less relevant, but when we're signing for America, we can sign at 8, 9 p.m. just so that they are part of that process with them.
Just to clarify one more point, if you want neither of you to law, you want a sibling, a relative, a brother, a parent to sign on your behalf, that's also possible, which means we could put anybody in a power of attorney. So sometimes say, listen, Yoni, we trust you, we trust the lawyer, but we wanted my mom to sign, which is totally understandable. They can sign. I'm with them at the bank at the same time. I'm sitting next to them. They sign a mortgage for you. Again, it's doable.
Are there any more questions? We'll wait a minute. We appreciate everyone showing up today. This was very informative, very good questions.
Yeah, amazing questions. Some of them, as Yoni pointed out, we've done this quite a bit, and some of the questions here were first timers. So hats off to you, kudos to you. And it's amazing to see what a turnout we had today. And if anyone has any other follow-up questions or if they want any more information, we will be sending the recording of this webinar out to all of you in the next day or so with all our contact information. So feel free to reach out. We are happy to answer any questions you may have. And we look forward to seeing you here in Israel.
B'ezrat Hashem.
B'ezrat Hashem.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Have a good day.